V-Strom garage. Today we're going to be working on my 2015 V-Strom 1000. We're going to be replacing the rear shock spring. We're going to put on a little bit heavier one for the big guy. Alright, let's get this started. So now we're going to go ahead and remove the top bolt and the bottom bolt. The swing arms will drop down. I'm going to try it like this without taking this plate off, just to simulate if you guys were doing it on the ground, because of course not everybody has a lift. But so we'll take that off, that'll drop down, and then the shock should come out through this hole right here. It should be able to go down and out. So we'll see if that's true. Alright, so we're getting ready to break this top shock mount loose. So this little thing sticks in there. So you just pop that out. And if you got two people, you can use two sockets, but since I'm by myself, I'm gonna have a wrench on this side and use it. So that's a 14 millimeter, there's a 14 millimeter on the other side. So we'll use that. So I got a 14 millimeter swivel. So that's what I'm using to get up on the other shock nut up there. So we'll go ahead and break that loose. I probably won't be able to film it just because there it is. I don't have no one to hold it. Okay, be right back. All right, so I got it broke loose, so now I'm just gonna get this nut off here. All right, so we got the nut off that one, so we'll go ahead and do the bottom one now. So you can see our bottom one right back in there. Okay, before we go ahead and pull the shock out here, you always want to remember to turn the preload off. You can see this gap right here. So I got my preload all the way in. That's why we're putting the heavier spring on there. So we're gonna, you can see that coming up. So you want to make sure that's all the way backed off. Okay, so now we're all the way back off. Now we just got to get on that bolt right there. We'll get that loose. You can see our rebound adjustment right there. And we'll be adjusting that thing probably full stiff with a heavier spring. We'll see if it works or not. I know a lot of people put them on the heavier springs, you know, and the preload just isn't enough, so then you get a lot of pogoing with a heavier rear spring. So 650, it seems like they're having a little bit of luck with it, but yeah, we'll feel it out. Worst come to worst, we can either send this shock out and get the rebound revalved, or we'll just have to go with the aftermarket shock. But let's try it, see what happens. Alright, let's see if we can get the top one off here. Alright, so picking up the rear swing arm a little bit. Good on it. Hopes to get that bolt going there. Alright, top bolt is out. Now that that's loose, the bottom one should just slide out. You can kind of see how I got the 14 millimeter wedged in between those two bolts, so I'll turn it with the ratchet and socket on the other side, and those two bolts will keep that thing from turning, so we'll break that loose. Alright, so we got our nut off the back side of that, so it's 12 millimeter on the bottom left side, and then the nut is a 14 millimeter. This other bolt's kind of right behind the exhaust pipe, so it's a little more difficult to get to. This is my big end. Okay. So the bottom bolt is out. I'm thinking this back wheel may have to go down further. Here, let me back this out a little bit. Alright, so what I'm hoping, if I drop this down further, that it'll move this out of the way a little more, give me a little more room down there. So if you didn't have a lift with the drop thing, you're going to have to jack the bike up a little bit higher to get this down more. So let's go ahead and try that. So, and it did move just a little bit. Okay. There we go. All right, success. There we go. Alright, so we got the rear shock out. Now we're going to put the spring compressors on here. I got these from Mountain ATV for the Tusk ones. It's probably about the cheapest solution you can get. I think they're like, I don't know, $30-some or something, $34 or something like that. So, yeah, you can spend a couple $100 on a nice Race Tech one, but I mean, depends on how many times you think you're going to do it. If you're going to do it for a living, yeah, spend the money, but to do one, this is the first spring I've changed in probably 20-some years, so cost-wise, it doesn't make sense. So these, hopefully these will at least work for this one. So this is our new spring. That's the old spring. Now, when you use the E-Box springs, this is a, well, the part number on this E-Box spring is a 0800.225.0650. So what that means, it's an 8-inch spring, the length is 8 inches, 225 is 2 1/4 inch inside diameter, and the 650 is the how much compression. I think it's like 650. I don't know if it's, I'm not sure. I'm not even going to try to explain that because I don't know exactly how they do that myself. But anyways, so this is a 650 rear. So when you put these on, you have to get these collars. And you can get these things from Race Tech. They're pretty cheap. I think they're from Race Tech. They're like, I don't know, $4 or $5 a piece, but you got to get 2 of these. And the part number is that right there, SPSC B552N. So you're going to need 2 of those. That's what I was told. We'll find out. So I heard these things kind of, sometimes you start tightening them up, they might move or something. I cut some little pieces of inner tube that I'm going to stick on here just to kind of see if that'll hold it a little better. So we got the one on the other side. Shove that down in there. Oops. this side. We want to try to get it as close to 180 out from the other one as we can. Just a little bit. Okay, so now we've got tension on both of those. Now, what it looks like, almost looks like you can use a 3/8" ratchet in there, just like an extension, put in there and turn those. Now, if somebody had a suggestion, I can't remember where I saw it at now, but if you take like a crescent wrench and just kind of hold the bottom of this while you're turning this, it'll keep it from tweaking it and moving, I guess. We'll try it and see what happens. Alright, so yes, these things do take a 3/8" ratchet or extension you can put in there. We'll hold the bottom part of this and keep it from twisting. Unfortunately, I don't have my vise mounted to my workbench yet. So I'm going to try it this way. So we're going to try to do this as even as possible. So we'll work it back and forth. So what we're doing, we're compressing this spring to get it down probably into here, so this little collar here will drop down and pull out, and then we can slide the whole spring off. Yeah, it'd definitely be a lot easier in a vise on the thing here. We'll see if that'll work. You can see the collar starting to loose on the top there. Make sure you do this, you don't have your face right over this, because if something were to pop off, you're going to get hit in the mouth. There's a little more. Quarter down. Screwdriver and push that rubber bumper down. Alright, so this should pop out, and I'm going to turn the other side down just a little more. Force it. Let's try that. Yeah, not quite. A little more. That's right. Okay. So that collar will come off there. And the spring should come off. Alright. So now I gotta loosen these up, take these off from here, and put them on the new spring. Okay, so we get the spacers we need to put on. I've been looking at this. This is the original one that was on there. And that fits in there pretty good and snug. I wasn't sure, I can't find any information whether you take this one off and only use this one, but this doesn't really lock into that bottom part, so I'm going to assume that this goes over this one. That way it stays locked in there, because if the other one's moving, it could go on this shaft and rub it. So to me that makes sense. And same with the top one. So that. So it's going to go on that way down. Toward, as you say. Clipped onto here. And that will sit in there like that. One thing I forgot to mention on these spring compressors, when you get them, make sure you get some anti-seize and put them on the threads and run it all the way down. Otherwise, those things can kind of strip out and make it real hard to use. So make sure you do that before you use them. Okay, so now we'll see if we've got this thing clamped down far enough yet. Now this new spring is actually just a little bit shorter than the stock one, so you don't have to squeeze it quite as much. You got the new collar on the bottom. That'll go there. Then the new collar. Now the washer's down there, I'm using a little magnet. We'll kind of see how that's going to. So I think we're going to have to clamp that down quite a bit more. Again, don't put your face over that as I just did. Not a good thing. Alright, so that's on. I don't think there's a particular place to put that notch, but I'm going to try to put it towards the rear, or towards the front, I mean. Alright, now what I'm going to do is just let the tension off these. And start to get a little tension up on there. This one you want to make sure all your stuff's lined up. Your rebound is on the same, rebound adjustments on the same side as your preload. So once you get that spring tension on there, it's going to be a lot harder to move. So another thing you can do when this is out, this little bushing comes out, and you can see your needle bearings in there. Put a little bit of grease in there while it's out, clean all that up, make sure everything's real nice. Alright, so we got put a little bit of grease on those needle bearings. Just remember when you pop this out, the needle bearings, they're not in a carrier, so the needles can fall out, so be careful of that. So let's go ahead and see if this thing fits back through the same hole. The diameter of this spring is a little bit bigger than the stock one. The top part wants to catch on the ABS pump in there, so you gotta kind of wiggle it around a little bit. So the bottom one was just off axis just a little bit, so just straighten it out, pop it in. Alright. Go ahead and put our upper bolt in. The bolts always go in from the left side on these. Actually, I think I'm going to put the bottom one in first. I think we took that out last. I think it'll make it a little bit easier. So now we've got to raise the rear swing arm a little bit. We can just pick it up by hand and get it started. Start this one at the top. Alright, just to make my life easier, I'm going to grab a little 2x4, stick under that. Bottom one's through. Push that top one through. one's through, the bottom one's through. So we'll go ahead and tighten our nuts down on the other side. I think both of them are 36.5 foot-pounds on that. So we'll get the torque wrench and we'll get that going. We're going to put a little blue Loctite on those nuts, just because in the service manual it says on the new nut, which it doesn't say replace it to put a new nut, but it kind of suggests that. So I'll just put a little blue Loctite on it and it'll be fine. The Loctite on there, and we torque both of them down to 36.5 foot-pounds. And we put our little wire holder thing back in the hole there. And that's about it. Alright, so here's all the tools I use for the whole job. Got the Bell-Ray waterproof grease. We got the Tusk shock spring compressors, just a regular ratchet. We got that's a 14, a 14, a 12 socket. I got a 12 millimeter swivel there. Of course, our torque wrench, extension, and a 14 millimeter swivel socket. I don't think you could probably do it without it, but since I had it. And this thing I use just to tap that the bottom bolt out to get it started through there. And of course a little rubber mallet. And the vise, of course, which it isn't necessary, but again, very handy. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you're a big dude like me, you're probably going to need a little bit bigger spring. Just go ahead and get you a new spring, put it on. About an hour and a half job. Basic tools, not a problem. And I'll try to give another report after we ride it a little bit, and I'll let you know how it does.